everybody. Happy Saturday. What's going on out there, people? How are you guitar ninjas doing out there in YouTube land? Everybody doing okay? Ready to play some guitar today with me? Ready to talk about some George Benson picking tactics and work on our right hand? Or if you're left-handed and you pick left-handed, work on your left hand. I'm Jeff Young. Welcome to Guitar Lesson Sessions live on YouTube. We're 4 deep now. Started off week 1, impromptu. I woke up on Gary Moore's birthday and I said, hey, I should do a YouTube live lesson on Gary Moore and teach folks some habits of Gary Moore and maybe the beginning solo to End of the World, which I did on Gary's birthday. I did that directly through the YouTube live encoder. That lesson came out really good. There's a few little fuzzy sound buffering instances because I just want to remind everyone we're doing this live so we can all hang out together and have this interactive experience. For sure, leave questions, comments, suggestions for future guitar lesson sessions in the chat, in the comments. I could pre-tape everything and make sure everything's perfectly executed, all the sound, audio, but that kind of takes all the spontaneity and the fun out of it. With that being said, after the first week, I did a little research and you'll see the different presentation in the visual screen here around me. I downloaded a really cool encoder which upped our sound quality, gave us more stability. Can have this cool graphic you see up there in the corner. If you enjoy this lesson and you want to tip me out, a lot of years work went into this this lesson session today. Those are the links to help a brother out, hardworking musicians, starving artists and all that. And if you do donate $5, $10, whatever you can afford, I'm going to send you a whole folder full of details, extra bonus details about today's lesson, including close-up photographs of hands, diagrams, George Benson special licks. We won't be focusing exclusively on the licks or soloing style or playing style of George Benson today. I will give you a couple examples, and the entire concept of today's lesson obviously involves George because his picking style is the hugest part of my influence on my right hand. We'll talk about that more in a minute, but I do have a folder that I will shoot out to you for a humble donation. It has all kinds of details on the lesson, things to help you remember, things to help you focus in closer. Every week I offer a little bonus for our supporters here. Again, this is YouTube Live. We started with Gary Moore. The second lesson was Eddie Van Halen explored. The lesson went really cool. People really enjoyed it. Went through a lot of Eddie Van Halen's playing tactics and even taught you a few of his licks note for note, including Spanish Fly, which is one of his trickiest endeavors. I spend a lot of time on that, so I show you that in slow motion so you can see every note. And last week we got all Viking up in here with some Yngwie Malmsteen explored. That lesson also went really, really cool. I'm really happy with how the lesson and the exchange of information went. When I watched it back, there's some kind of a grounding or a little buzz or hum on that particular transmission, but I didn't think it was enough to warrant redoing the whole thing, which I did do on the Eddie Van Halen. And I'm happy if any of the YouTube lives don't turn out. I'll be happy to do them again. I thought the Yngwie was great overall. The sound of the guitar, the lesson, all the exchange. Aside from that, if you can get by that and we work that all out, you shouldn't hear any humming or buzzing today. We have an excellent connection. And that Yngwie video went viral. The Yngwie lesson, it got picked up on Brave Words and Bloody Knuckles website. Great music webzine. And especially since it went viral, I didn't want to redo it and lose all those plays. So I beg your forgiveness with the grounding problem last week. I got comments on last week's video ranging from "this is the greatest video ever" to a viewer with a seemingly fake account that commented they watched 30 minutes of it and the sound was so bad they had to check out, and it's 2020 and I better get my shit together. I guess he told me. And remember, these lessons are free, and the internet is the best it can be. You know, I would like to invest in a lavalier mic. If you notice right here, I do have a $1,500 biodynamic microphone right here that's picking up my voice and the room sound of the guitar. I don't know if you can see back here. You probably can't see around the chair, but I have a mic on the Friedman, a 57. So you're getting that direct sound. It's going through a MACD mixing board, USB into the laptop. Same setup I use for my radio show, Music Without Boundaries, every Tuesday night, 7:11 p.m. on the East Coast, 4:11 on the West Coast, and whatever time it is, wherever you are. So we definitely got a cool sound setup. After the first Gary Morin with the buffering, I thought, should I just pre-record these? But again, we'll lose the live interactive portion. So let's check out today that we're only 4 deep. George Benson, this is still new for me. I'm just getting used to everything. So if you guys could give me a break, and thanks to the 2 people that gave me a thumbs down on the Yngwie lesson because of the sound quality, really. All thumbs up on all the other lessons, and hopefully today will be no exception. So I think that's the housekeeping. You know, I want to mention up front, I do give Skype lessons. We can, of course, dive deeper in the Skype lessons than we can here. I can get really detail-oriented and customize, you know, each lesson for you. It's really cool over Skype, and especially with all this social distancing, it seems very appropriate. Topics I like to cover in the Skype lessons are sacred geometry. I might touch on that a little bit, but that's how to make every chord on the soundscape, every chord under the sun, in one lesson. Every pop chord, every jazz chord come from 2 parent shapes that rarely, I've never seen taught except by one teacher that I was lucky to have crossed paths with. So sacred geometry is a big thing, how to make every chord under the sun in one lesson. I have another lesson that's like a lead guitar 101. I taught at GIT at Musicians Institute, and I was definitely humbled and privileged to get schooled by the great Scott Henderson. And he taught me how to teach you in just one lesson even if all you know is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, how to solo and improvise over any of the chord progressions that I taught you in the previous rhythm lesson. Anytime you jam with a record, your friends, sit in at a gig, at a local drinking drum, you'll know how to improv in any key in one lesson. I talk a lot about the physics of guitar. We'll be talking about that today for sure. Pick trajectory we'll be talking about today for sure. And in private lessons, we can really dive deep into the economy, revolutionary picking style that we're going to touch on today for sure. But again, one-on-one counseling is always handy and helpful. So with all the housekeeping details being taken care of, and my email is jeffyoungmusic, jeffyoungmusic@gmx.com. Write me about details for Skype lessons, scheduling if you want to set up a time. And the cool thing off these YouTube Lives, I've been getting a lot of new students, so I really appreciate that. And I teach all levels, all styles, most styles. I'm trying to stay clear of the polkas, but other than that, I think we're good. So I want to talk first up, let's just dive deep into the lesson. Let's dive headlong and get our picking in order today. You're going to just need your guitar in standard tuning. You're going to need a pick, clean sound on your amp. We're mostly going to stay on a clean sound today, so we make sure everything's clean, no glitches, bip bops, bibbity boops, nothing that we don't want to hear. It's always critical in your home rehearsal woodshedding times to practice with a clean sound. And as I mentioned in every lesson, slow equals fast. This is like the tortoise meets the hare, the little engine that could. By practicing slow and focusing in, and I think you'll notice with my teaching style, you know, a lot of teachers just glance over things and it's kind of like this and they go real fast and you don't really get the gist of it. I want to make sure I'm not doing this for my health because I already know all these licks. I want to make sure you can interpret each and every phrase and cell and make the most of it. The goal is to take the ideas that I teach you, whether it's in today's lesson, the Yngwie, Eddie, Gary Moore, or any future lessons, and whether you intend to play a specific song by an artist or utilize this technique in full in your playing, these are all springboards. Each lesson and each concept is a springboard and a launching pad to give you new creative ideas, and today should really open some doors. Because what I'm showing you today will literally open a gateway for you and anyone listening with an ounce of creativity to a million new melodic ideas that have never been played in history by anyone. And that's our most winning advantage in this life, is that no one can do you like you can do. No one can do me the way I can. No one can do Yngwie, Eddie, Gary the way they can, but we can take bits and the best things and pull and incorporate those into our playing like a fine chef, using different ingredients and spices, okay, to create brand new and exotic dishes. Okay. So let's talk about this technique and picking in general, this right hand technique. And I want to say as a disclaimer, okay, let's talk about who should be continuing with this video from here on, okay? Again, we're going to take you from beginner to advanced and in a hurry. So if you're an advanced player, You still need to hang through the lesson because there's going to be little morsels and details. And I'm hoping everyone's going to check their ego at the door, as I did when I embarked on this technique. Many years after I left Megadeth, I reinvented my picking technique. You'll see the fruits of that in the process, how I went through that today. And it's a great lesson today, I think, in an adaptation. That's our movie recommendation. Fine movie, starring Nicolas Cage in dual roles, and Meryl Streep. Is it Chris Cooper? Fine movie, and a great analogy for musicianship and survival as a musician in this matrix. So adaptation. Again, who this lesson is for, it's for open-minded individuals who believe in eternal learning and growing, who constantly want to challenge themselves and sculpt their playing and improve it on an ongoing basis. Continuous learners. This is Red Pill Guitar Lesson Sessions. We're going to get real. We're going to be honest. If you're the kind of know-it-all douche canoe that can't be told anything, that thinks you got it all wired, that you're God's gift to guitar, and no one can show you anything, the door's right here, right? Because I'm here to help. This technique changed my life. It changed my playing. And not only did it change the output and the sound of my playing, it changed the whole internal and external process, allowing me to relax. My whole life, from the time I started playing till many years after Megadeth, I was struggling as a picker, as most guitar players do, because I was holding the pick wrong. Okay? In life, you know, they say, and a lot of pickers play, I see kids in forums, how do I pick? What's the best way to hold the pick? And I see the know-it-all douche canoes answering, whatever way is best for you, whatever feels comfortable. And yeah, there are many ways to skin a fish. But if you're starting at point A and you want to arrive at point Z, my concept is that I want to go the straightest, most easy, stress-free path from A to Z. I don't want to take detours and go off in left and right field. I don't want to make the work harder for myself. I don't want to have to work twice as hard as I have to. And that's what I was doing my entire career. So much so that I gave up playing with a pick for a decade, which is what led me into playing flamenco and classical. I had always done that, but I just focused on it. I got so frustrated with the inadequacies of my picking technique. That doesn't mean I didn't play great. That doesn't mean I didn't lay down a killer solo in my darkest hour that got voted in the top 100 metal solos of all time, right? There's great players everywhere you turn. And when you get to this level of professional players, everyone has something to offer. What I'm pushing to the middle of the table, like like I got the winning hand in poker, is that yeah, there's a lot of ways to do things, but there's really only one right way to do things. And there's really, when it comes to picking, and I've tried everything for my own self, there's only one way to pick. Just like there's only one way to rock. There's only one way to pick effortlessly, strain-free, okay? And that's the George Benson picking technique, all right? We'll dive into that in a minute. I want you to remember and make a note, though, after today's session, put your peepers on. Start watching some other guitar players. I'm going to give you some guitar players, some who you may know and love, and there's many more I could list. I've had students walk in who intuitively held the pick in the proper way. You know, I wasn't so lucky. I picked wrong. No teacher really told me, really focused on it. They were focusing on other things, teaching me how to play Over the Hills and Far Away note for note, or this or that, or introducing me to Tommy Bolin when I was 15, and that's all great, but I really could have used this advice early on because it would have accelerated my picking and I would have had a whole lot more fun playing. The goal of today and the goal of playing guitar and playing music, whether you do it professionally or for a hobby, is to have fun first and foremost. Yeah, for some of us a job and it's a profession, but at the end of the day, when I started playing music, viola in first grade and saxophone, and I switched to in third grade, I was just doing it for fun. I didn't know about being a rock star or a professional musician. I just liked the sound of music, and it was fun blowing on that horn, right? Let me give you some players that you can watch. Go watch their videos on YouTube. Maybe you have some DVDs. Focusing on their right hands, you're going to become an expert pick spotter of players who play with good technique and maybe not so good technique today. And again, there's great players playing great things, but I push to the table that many players are great in spite of bad technique. Their technique is not supporting them. All right? Let's help you, open-minded guitar ninjas, take your picking to the next level, okay? Here's some players to watch, and then we'll start the process. First of all and foremost, the king, Bad Benson. You want to go check some George Benson, preferably back in the day when he was younger, before he got more pop-oriented and got more into the vocal side of things, when he was a young shredder. Check out Benson live at Montreux. Try to find videos where it focuses in on his right hand. Look right here. Sorry, right here. Look at his hand. I gave you two angles. I gave you one up there so you can really see. Look at his hand, and I gave you one right there so you could see more from a side angle. Watch his picking. He's one of the greatest players in history. Bad Benson is a great album. Benson's Cookbook. You know, go back and check the 60s, early 70s era Benson. The second and third players I mentioned together because they came out of the same band. You're going to want to watch some Carlos Santana and Neil Schon from Journey, okay? Two players that also use this picking technique. You can see by the way they hold their pick that they got the Benson grip going. Santana's a great one to watch because he plays very slow, very melodic, and you can really see that right hand, really see what he's doing. Neil Schon, makes sense. These guys, you know, he was in Santana when he was a wee whippersnapper, so it makes sense these two guys picked the same. I don't know how that happened, but maybe it was something in the water in the Bay Area. Another great player to watch, Michael Shanker, has the excellent picking technique. John Sykes from Whitesnake and Blue Murder is a great one to watch. He's right out of that Gary Moore school, right? Great player, great shredder, great songwriter, and of course, last but not least, I got a whole YouTube full of videos. You can watch me playing live. this lesson right here is a perfect example. Be sure to use the YouTube speed feature. When you watch this back later, you can slow the video down by varying degrees if you really need to focus in on a part, and just keep rewinding it. So there's some players to watch. Yngwie is close. Marty Friedman, his hand is kind of in the right position, but you see him collapsing his thumb and kind of circle picking. And so he's kind of quasi doing it, but there's some great players to watch. Now let's start diving into the technique and what makes this technique different than the other techniques and how I discovered it. Okay. Back when I was working with the Brazilian artist Badia Sagi, and we were working on the Chameleon album and tours, and the album for Verve Records and the Polygram label, somehow our paths crossed a great guitar player by the name of Tuck Andres. Can't recommend this cat to you enough. If you don't know who Tuck Andres is, Andress. His group is Tuck and Patty. It's a duo with his wife. Similar to what Baji and I were doing. And somehow we got I don't know if we sent him something about the album or that we were big fans. He wrote back and said they were big fans of Baji's music. And long story short, I looked at his website, and he had an area in his website called Tuck's Corner. This is when the internet first came about. It was kind of primitive, but he had his little lessons in there. And one lesson was right hand picking, explored the George Benson picking technique. And I've always been a huge Benson fan, so that caught my eye, and I went in and I read this long article. Unfortunately, it's no longer there on their website, and I lost my copy of it. I do have a letter Tuck wrote me when he's telling me that they were fans of Baji, and he answered a few more questions about the Benson technique. And I think that's actually how it happened. I found his website, read the Benson article, sent him a question about it that I didn't understand, and he wrote back telling me they were big fans of Baji, and he answered my question, and we had a little via fax, because there was it's very basic back in the day. The internet was just coming online. Some guitar lessons focusing on the Benson technique via fax back in the day. So this is where I discovered it via Tuck Andres. What Tuck had done and what the breadth of this article described was his analysis of right hand picking styles, and he broke down every picking style from standard picking style that a lot of gentlemen use. And let me just approach. No, I don't want to approach because I'm going to get a thumbs down because the mic will be back here. It won't be loud. I'll get people tell me I need a lavalier microphone, and so I'll just stay right here and just bear with me. You can look at the back of the Megadeth album to see bad picking technique, both from my other guitar partner, you know who, and myself, holding the pick with a bent thumb on the side of your finger. If you're out there in YouTube land and you have either a bent thumb when you hold the pick, or you're holding the pick on the side of the finger, or both, we need to talk, all right? Because you got issues. And I know, again, it's hard for some people to swallow, but for me, I've always been an open person that wants to learn. My motto's always been, if there's a new way, I'll be the first in line, right? So, pardon the pun. You got issues if this is your technique. And a lot of guys, you can start looking around and seeing who holds the pick on the side of the finger with a bent thumb. And that's how I played many, many years. And again, toured the world successfully. All the solos that you guys like off the So Far So Good So What album, I managed to pull them off. But there was a lot of stress traveling up my arm and into my neck in the process. And I was having to practice 10, 12, 14 hours a day just to keep my picking where I wanted it, all right? Other techniques that Tuck examined in this article, in this lesson, was the Wes Montgomery thumb picking technique, circle picking, where you're collapsing your thumb, and the last technique, and I'm going to approximate what he said. By the time I saw George Benson in concert, I was evolved enough as a player to realize the second I saw him that he had solved the picking problem, that his playing and his right hand technique fully supported his playing, okay, on all levels. And this guy goes from slow melodic passages, from jazz to bluesy jazz to bebop, to just blistering like that on the turn of a dime. Just one of the greatest pickers because he's so relaxed. If you notice in these pictures, especially look at the one up in the top. He's picking, sometimes you'll see Benson picking, and as you watch the videos, his whole hand is resting below the high E string, but he's covering all strings, okay? He's got that little pick guard on his jazz box that he can put his hand on, but matter not, I'm going to be doing jazz on a dime, on a Dean Dime ML today. This guitar just sounds great on every style of music. Rock, metal, blues, jazz, it's a killer guitar. But you don't need a jazz box to pull this technique off. Obviously, the other players that I listed, none of them play on jazz box style guitars. So, the first portion of this article was examining the pros and cons of each picking style. And I'm going to show you the con, the big con, and this was all I needed. I literally hit my pick on a guitar about 4 or 5 times, my old way and the Benson way, and I knew I had to change my technique. I had to swallow my ego, I had to swallow my pride, and I had to go in the woodshed for a few months and reinvent my picking technique. I've done it multiple times throughout my career. I've been doing it for the past 3-4 years. Totally reinvented my picking style again. We'll talk about that as we continue and even go beyond the Benson picking technique today. Because my picking is kind of an amalgamation of Benson and another great player who was one of my teachers at GIT, Frank Gambale. So if you're familiar with Frank, you're going to be in for a great lesson today. Because I've taken a lot of stuff that I learned from Frank and George and put them together and took them in my own direction, and we'll explore some of that today, and hopefully it'll help make playing and picking fun for you. Finally, if you've been stressing with it, as I was, or if you're more of a beginner, hopefully this will be something that can really help you accelerate quickly. So I guess this is a good time to just show you the difference in tone, because that's what got me going. That's what got me going on the Benson picking technique. And I'm going to show you first off on an acoustic guitar before we get the Dean out, because it's more magnified on an, you can really hear it. I'm even going to stand up by the mic here in a minute and let you really hear it. But let's just talk about the basics of guitar and getting sound out of the guitar. A big reason I'm doing this lesson and capturing it for prosperity's sake is this is something that I teach all my students. And I'll mention that I've had, at GIT, I did 8, 9, 10, 12 private lessons every day. Students coming in my room every hour. I showed every student this technique, whether they liked it or not. And it's pretty much what I described at the beginning. The students who were open-minded and willing to swallow their ego and who wanted the best outcome for their playing changed and never looked back. Unfortunately, with a lot of young students who are young in the head, some of them didn't change and they're still struggling today, and good luck to them and bon voyage. Once I read Tuck's description of all the picking techniques and he nailed mine, he told all the disadvantages that I was feeling, including stress going up your arm, and I'll talk about why that happens in a minute. All I had to do was pick up my acoustic guitar and give it a few strokes, and I knew there was no looking back. And I'm going to recreate that for you right here, right now. So, I picked up my acoustic guitar after reading this eye-opening lesson, and I gave it a little strum. First with my old technique. Let me approach and really let you see. Right? Bent thumb on the side of the finger. And it sounds a little something like this. Now, do you hear that? Unless you're hard of hearing, that scratchy tone right there is a whole lot more annoying than the ground buzz in last week's Yngwie lesson. It's very annoying. And any player that's playing like this, including me, you're getting that scratchy quality out of your strings. You're either, and here's your mic magnifying that scratchy quality, or you're putting it into an amp and adding distortion, and your tone's just going downhill from there. Let's hear the difference when I switch to the Benson technique, which is like this. I'll show you, then I'll describe it. Okay, so first I'm going to give you the sound of how the old-fashioned picking style sounds. And now I'm going to switch to the Benson. What happened? What happened? By just changing my pick grip, by just changing the grip of my pick and the angle that it's hitting the strings, we'll talk about that. That whole scratchy quality was eliminated. Now, guitar players, think about this. Let's say you're out for an audition for a big gig, and there's 10 guitar players in a line, right? And all those guitar players come up and they play with their technique. And then it gets to me, and suddenly the tone gets round and buttery and it blooms. It just opens up and blooms and it becomes more musical, right? Who's going to get the gig, right? That's all I needed to hear, and that should be all you need to hear to be curious enough to want to dive into this picking technique. So if you're still with me, if you're still ready to rock, let's keep rocking. Now, again, I need to establish all this. Even my most advanced students, many people never stop and think about what I'm about to tell you. And I want to get this on the record because I end up repeating it in every lesson. And now what I'm going to do with my students after the first lesson, I'll just say, now go watch the Benson lesson on my YouTube, because there's a lot of stuff that you need to catch up on, and so I don't have to repeat myself. You know, hopefully this will be the ultimate Benson picking technique lesson. Now, here we have a guitar, ladies and gentlemen. And this was all the kind of guitars there were. It was classicals back in the day, before amps were invented and before Les Paul came along and Leo Fender and all the great electric guitars. And we love electric guitars, and that's great. Unfortunately, a lot of people who begin playing electric guitar, begin playing with a pick, miss an entire fundamental aspect of guitar playing, the very physics of how guitar works. Again, it culminates in them not getting the best tone out of their guitars that they can get. All right. Now, the guitar, witness, it's a speaker cabinet. It's a miniature speaker cabinet. Here's your back and sides of the speaker cabinet, and this is your cone. People who've seen a speaker, it's almost, here's the middle of the cone and whatever. This is they call it the sound hole, but sound doesn't come out of this hole. It comes off the top like a ripple of water, you know, like a sound wave that's invisible that you can't see, but it's happening, right? The guitars, if you look up on the internet in a search engine, look up acoustic guitar, classical guitar, flamenco guitar, fan bracing, or the bracing, how they brace the top. All the aspects of how a guitar is built is to help this guitar amplify towards the listener who's there. They're in the audience just there. Or if you're playing in your parlor, in your living room, they're just here, right? Now, what we got here, side by side, stay with me, we got 6 twines, just like 6 bow and arrows, 6 bows, if you've ever shot a bow and arrow, tied off here, tied off down here, going through your body. It's pressure. It's the same kind of pressure. There's over 100 pounds of pressure, depending on your tuning, well over 100 pounds of pressure on this guitar at all times when it's up to pitch, even E flat, etc. If you were to shoot a bow and arrow and you wanted to shoot, if this is, you're going to put your little arrow in here. If you have miniature arrows and you put your arrow in here, you don't pull the twine this way and you don't pull the twine this way. You got to pull the twine back and shoot the arrow sound this way. What do I mean? What's Jeff talking about? Is this some kind of guitar conspiracy theory? Au contraire. It's just physics, people. A guitar moves like this. So you can't make the energy go like this with your strumming. People who begin playing fingerstyle realize this. People who begin playing with a pick sometimes never realize this. Let's just take a simple E chord, ladies and gentlemen. I talk about often that this area right here, visualize this like your trampoline. You're just going to bounce. As a matter of fact, my buddy Eric Johnson talks about the bounce technique in this video, right? The fine art of guitar. Unfortunately, he talks about it, but it's not very clear to understand what he's talking about. Go check it out, and you'll be as miffed as I was, and I didn't really get what he was talking about. But here's what he's talking about. if you play fingerstyle, you can't do a downstroke like this or an upstroke. The only way to get sound out of guitar is how deep you push the strings in, how deep you depress the strings in with your hand. You just jump on the tramp, just like when we were kids, you just start bouncing lightly, bouncing, pushing inward. How hard you push, right? Right? Even a back rake, you're pushing, you're depressing the strings, even if you're picking with I and M. How do you get sound? Push, 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 push. Right? It's the same with a pick. Do you see how I'm just, think of these as 6 high wires side by side, and you're a Cirque du Soleil acrobatist, right? And you're just bouncing on those strings, just like if you were doing it with your thumb. And we'll get into the pick grip in a minute. I just want you to get the feel of the bounce technique. You never, again, we grow up watching the Beatles, in different bands, folk artists, people on TV strumming. Even from our view, from our eyes, we're seeing this motion, right? Even what I was picking just then, I'm not pushing up and down. If you saw my pick go across the strings in slow motion from this angle, you would see the pick depressing each string as I go across. Okay? Now, so that's the essence of the guitar. We want to get the guitar always working like this, never working like this, or you're short-circuiting the energy of the instrument. Okay? We all in tune? So let's talk about the grip, specifically what the difference is with this grip compared to the other. Okay. Sounds like we're in tune. All right, here we go. If you saw me plucking and playing, if you've ever played fingerstyle, even if you haven't, I'm going to show you right now. Here is your proper classical position. You just sit a finger on your G string, first finger, second finger on the B string, third finger, and your thumb is on the E string. And you're all sitting, you've got space in between it so your first finger and thumb can work and don't bump into each other. Here is your classical. Right? All pushing, just to give you a very simple idea of that momentum. Now, and I showed you, if you drop your pick and try to just run a quasi-chromatic scale, the way you're going to get that sound is by pushing your thumb in. All we're going to do is take that position and put our thumb and first finger together. Here's the concept of the Benson picking technique. First of all, it helps if you have a double jointed thumb like George does and I do, and you can bend it back. Like some people can only bend their fingers straight, they can't go back. But if you notice George's hands in the photos here in our screen view, you'll see that his thumb is totally locked like that. You see how it's under like this, right? The thumb has to be bent. Why? Because any bent joint is weaker than a locked joint. Think about if you've ever worked out with weights. If you're on a bench press, you're weak until, or the guys in the Olympics when they press, that's the whole, mission of the Olympic sport when they, the clean press is when they push, they lock, and then they drop it. Likewise, if you were going to help your buddy push a truck out of the street, you're not going to do it with bent arms. You're going to, you try to hold someone back, you're not doing it like this, you lock your arms. Any bent joint weaker than a locked joint. This is the way I used to pick. I had to get used to, and luckily, I got the double jointed thumb. Now, what else? Putting the pick on the side of your finger. When you put a wide, this is like common sense thing, common sense eludes most people, but check it out. When you put a wide object on a thin object, what do you create? Even if it's just like this, you create a teeter-totter and the thing rocks. I can put all these picks here on this finger, and the second I move, it's going to fall off. What happens when you hit the string, when you have a pick held on a side of a finger, is when you come on a downstroke, the pick gets pushed upward. When you come back on an upstroke, it gets pushed the other way, so your pick is constantly going like this. Every time you hit a string, it's rocking. It's becoming dislodged because it's not secure. To compensate for that, we start gripping here. The second you push pressure, you're done. You're done. Game over. The pressure starts going up your arm and into your neck. Game over. You're not relaxed. You're never going to play fast and effortlessly and with fluidity, right? However, if you put the pick on a wider, which is wider, this or this, right? You put the pick on a wider surface, and you can move that pick all around wildly, and it's not going anywhere. There's no teeter-totter effect, right? I do this to all my students, right? There I put it on the side of the finger and it's gone, right? So, simple basic lesson. So what do we got to do? We have to, if you're already holding like this, lucky you. If you got a bent thumb, you got to lock your thumb. If you're playing with the pick on the side of the finger, you got to move it like this. Do you see? It's locked and it ain't going anywhere. Now, and this is when you get the package, if you donate for the lesson and you get the package, this is the kind of stuff where I have close-up pictures with even graphics showing you the pick angle. A lot of detail. Definitely worth a $5 or $10 donation, and you'll have that and you can keep it in your guitar files forever. Okay? Now check it out. Let's start basic and we'll build up from there and get advanced. Advanced people, hang with me. when we get to the advanced stuff, even if you're a beginner, this tape is still here for you. You can just keep working your way up to it. Now, let's start how I start every day, how I warm up, how I built my technique up. I'm going to show you a condensed version of the kind of things that I work on to keep my picking high. The best part of the Benson picking technique, aside from you just heard the sound difference when I gave you the two angles on the acoustic guitar, the scratch is gone, the tone is better. You are relaxed from here up. All the tension that I used to feel when I played is gone. And now I'm totally relaxed, because the way you want to be in your body when you're playing your fastest, most complicated parts, anything really, but we have in our caveman DNA this fight or flight. So it's like, here comes the fast part, hold my breath, tense up, right? And that's the opposite. This is what takes many years to unlearn, is our caveman conditioning, fight or flight. Here comes the difficult thing. I'm going to hold my breath and tense up, when what we need to do is release our breath, relax, and go limp. So this is the biggest part. So let's start, and again, by practicing slowly and building up our speed, it lets us always progress from slow to fast in a relaxed manner without stressing to do it too soon. So the first thing we're going to do, and the way I start out, is I just start simply with one note on a string. I'm warming up, I just woke up, you know, it's a new day. So I want to just build it up from doing licks on one string to licks on two strings to 3 note per string to 4 note per string, and that's how we'll progress today. I'm even going to teach you some cool revolutionary shapes for the pentatonic to help you play that more efficiently. Let's start here. We talked about making the strings go inward, that the guitar needs to work like a speaker. You know, your audience isn't up here. There's no ears up there. There's no ears down there. Everything is directed towards the ears of our listener to touch their soul, right? We're shooting little arrows of emotion and sonic frequency out to the world. That's what music's all about. Music can heal. Frequency can heal people. So getting the guitar going like this is one thing. Another thing we got to get rid of that I see a lot of players, one of my favorite players, Mr. Stiff Arm, I won't mention his name, but I don't know how he plays with this stiff arm. You know, you're not jacking off, guys. I mean, it's not like this. This is not how you play guitar. We're not pounding on the table. We are screwing the screwdriver. All the motion should be a pivot from the elbow or just the wrist if you're not going wild. Let's start with a basic flat 5 exercise. What is a flat 5? We're just going to play on the 6th string, 1st finger, 5th fret, 6th string, 2nd at the 6th fret on the A string, then back to the 6th string, 7, 8. There's your devil's interval. You know it from songs like Black Sabbath. There's your devil note. And Randy took that and put it in Over the Mountain, right? So we're just going to take this flat 5 and get that motion going. All right. Now let me explain something to you about the pick. If you're trying to do the Benson picking technique with me right now and you're not used to it, you're going to be noticing something. When you, and these are some of the illustrations in the Benson package I can send you after the lesson. When you hold the pick the improper way, how I used to hold it in the Megadeth days, your pick is at an angle like this. You're slicing through the string on a downstroke like this. and on an upstroke like that. When you switch to the Benson, your pick gets flipped like this. So now my downstrokes hit with the back side of the pick that used to be my upstrokes, and my downstrokes, my upstrokes with the other side of the pick. So my downstrokes, it's literally just like your thumb. Maybe that's why it sounds better. The string is seeing it just like a thumb. It's almost, think if you got a little drumstick right here, and you're just whacking your high wire. And you're resting it on the A string, right? So my downstrokes are with the back side of the pick, and this is disconcerting at first. This is, you know, what's tricky to get used to if you're used to this angle, and then suddenly your pick's at the other angle. Of course, you heard on the guitar, when I had the acoustic, the difference in sound. That's why it sounds different. For some reason, the guitar likes this angle better. It helps the tone open and bloom. So what we're going to do is hit with the back side of the pick. Our thumb is locked. The pick is in there, and it ain't going nowhere because it's locked. And you are not squeezing anymore. You don't need to squeeze. And your pick can rock, instead of rocking this way, which you don't want, how it does the old way, you're going to let it rock slightly this way when you do your up and down strokes, and I'll show you what I mean as we get into this. So the first thing we got to get this motion. And again, this can be something, someone can be an advanced player and they've been doing this their whole life, and you need to just chill with that unless you just want to stress the rest of your life. But the effortless way to pick, even when you're strumming chords, is this action. So we're going roll and then back like that. And you're hitting with the side of the pick closest to your face on your upstrokes, or what I call yank strokes, because you're not going down towards the ground. We're always pushing the string in towards the body, whether you're doing an upstroke or a downstroke. So just walk across like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Advanced players, you know this, but let's really get that wrist loose, right? The tone is. I mean, this Dean and this Friedman and this picking style, and you're there. So I'm going, and it just da 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 da. You see how my whole hand just sits. I don't have to make any radical movements. There's not that much space between your high and low E string, and people act like, you know, that they have to climb a wall. It's a mental hurdle. In your mind, the string's like, it's this far you got to cover. No, it's just this far. It's just right here. It doesn't take all this exaggerated motion, all this wasted energy that so many players are putting out there, right? So you just start. Down, right? Cool. Get that clean. Up and down the neck. You can even just do one string. You're not going to bump into other strings. The Jimmy Page, heartbreaker, sloppy kind of he was bumping into other strings, picking up and down. If you're pushing your strings in towards the body, there's no string to hit in there, right? So you can... string as long as you have this motion. And we'll get to that in a minute. So we just want to start getting this motion of holding the pick properly. And you see, I'm even treating a little wild, like I'm strumming, right? I'm not being like super careful, articulate like I was on the Yngwie lesson. You know, you can be more reckless because your technique is supporting and there's no string to hit when you got this motion going with the guitar. So that's example one. This is the first thing you're going to work, the flat 5. Just spider fingers walking across the strings. Now, we're starting to get warmed up. We're going to stretch our left hand and get a little more complicated. Let's jump some strings. This is a little bit tricky. This is a Steve Morse thing he taught me long ago on a little Steve Morse cassette that I got back in the day, a Hot Licks tape. But I've used it ever since. That's the thing. If you find something that's gold, and hopefully this lesson's going to be chock full of them, you remember those little things and you use those your whole life to help your playing be at its peak. Like right now, I don't have my road chops up or even my studio chops. That's, you're running the songs every day for a week or two. You're running your set. You're working with the metronome. You know, more around the house, casually. I'm working on more on stuff. When you practice at home, you should be practicing things that you suck at, the stuff that you're not good at. Don't just sit around playing stuff that you've already mastered. So that's another reason when I'm not like gearing up for a show or to go in the studio, I always tend to practice things a little bit slower so I know it's like a Tour de France rider. You gear up to ride the Tour de France. It's not something you're ready to do year round. You gear up for that like a musician gears up to tour, right? Or to go in the studio. So these are all the things that I use to keep my playing at least at a passable level where I can live with myself and not be shamed. And then from there, you just work harder, work with the metronome, start running your song in your set, and you get your studio chops or your road chops, and you're good to go, right? So this is a great little exercise, and it spans from the 5th to the 7th fret. We're working now mostly with perfect fifths. The first was a flat 5 here. What's a perfect fifth? It's just the basis of our bar chords, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to stretch out so your first finger will be covering at the 5th fret, your 4th at the 7th, and we're going to play perfect fifth intervals. There will be one flat 5, and I'll call that out. But let's start like this. You're going to go 1, 3 from the 6th to the 5th, 5, 7, just like this. That's the first 2 notes. Got that? Now the second 2 notes is right here. 7. There's your flat 5 interval. All the rest will be perfect fifths. So let's put those 2 together. We're already jumping a string right there because we're skipping the A string. We're going from 6th string, 9th fret to D string, 5th fret to get that that flat 5. Feel me? Now the next one And this is, I'm helping you with your left hand a little bit too today, not just your right hand. A lot of people's third and fourth finger just not that happening, right? Dimebag's great. His fourth finger, he works great with his fourth finger, now that I think of it. But with 3 and 4, you're going to play right here at 7 on the A string and 9 on the D string. It's basically your E, the basis of your E chord here, but you're playing it with 3 and 4. See how my arm pivot, pivot, pivot. And again, because and again, let me stress, push, and I'm yanking back. It's almost like in this direction, back, because that, just take your pick. Let's talk about the upstroke, because we're going to be talking about it a lot today, because the upstroke is every one of your weakest stroke. It was mine, I know that. That's why I spent the last 3.5 years just honing my upstroke, and we'll see the benefits of that here as we continue the lesson. But just take your pick and just bring that pick back and let it rest on the 6th string. Feel that? Push it in and let it rest. Just like how it would be if you took your finger and went like that. The upstroke is the hardest stroke. That's why so many songs are all, right? Right? A lot of downstrokes in rock and roll and heavy metal. Again, I submit that these guitar hacks, as I call them, like pulling on and hammering off, hybrid picking, where you're picking, you know, with a finger and the other fingers. You got your pick and then you're tapping, right? That we went over in the Van Halen. These are all guitar hacks to get by around having to do upstrokes. What is claw chicken picking? You're doing the upstroke and the downstroke with your pick and the upstroke with your finger, so that you don't got to ever work your upstrokes. But they're never going to sound the same. This is never going to sound as strong as picking every note. And what I'm leading you into today is to show you how to go beyond what we did last week with Yngwie, with the kind of D-miola picking every note on the way up, but this more Holsworthy on the way down. We can get that so we can pick every note that fast and faster if we approach this correctly. So, back to the Mixolydian motif here. We got this far, right? And I got sidetracked talking about that upstroke. See what I mean? 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4 is your fingers, and you're going 5, 7, 9, 5, 7, 9. You remember what I taught you in previous lessons about doing things more with a swing feel? That helps you get the vibe. Next note. Right here that you did, you're going to come down and do D-A with 1 and 3, 5th fret A string, 7th fret D string. Let's put all that together. Here, 4th finger, 9th fret A string, 2nd finger, you're welcome, on the G string, 6th fret. Another 5th interval. It's right here, you're just playing it here. my students always try to cheat fingers. They want to play this, they're like, and then they try to play this with 2 and 4. No, people. Don't cop out on me. You got to go 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 2. Now come up here, and we're finished with the ascending with 3 and 4, just like we did right here, but we're going to do it right here. It's 7 on D, 9 on G. Now let's walk down. Take it up. My pick is very loose in my hand. There's no squeezing. The second you squeeze here, you're done. Game over. You're fired. Fired. It just stays there. You don't need to squeeze that pick. It's locked there because of the Benson technique. And you see again, look at my hand. It's down here and it's loose. Let me talk about the finger splayed here. You know how like Paul Gilbert and Buckethead pick like that? And they're fucking great, man. But they're working too hard. Try it yourself. I feel right now, I hate it. I can't. You're straining. I mean, would you walk around all day like this, you know, with your hands? No, you just want to go limp. This is not limp. This takes effort. It takes muscle control. And I instantly feel like closed off. I feel my blood getting choked off. It feels horrible, man. I don't know how those cats can play like that. It's not logical. You don't need to be clenching like that. The second I do it, I hate it. Just let your hand, look at Benson's hand right there. Just let it go. Just right there, man. I mean, I guarantee it'll take you a long time to get this as fast as I'm playing it. And look how relaxed I am, right? Up and down the neck. It's a great one. It's a great one, and that's out of this pattern, the Mixolydian shape. If you just take all those steps here, then 1, 2, 4 there. There's your Mixolydian shape in A. Right? Now, we've done 2 melodic motifs, your flat 5, and then your Mixolydian. Right? That's 1 note per string. What's the next logical step? 2 notes per string. All right, people. How many people know the pentatonic shape? Let's do it right here in B. Where you're going 7, 10, 1, 4, 7, 10. Then this is easy for the next 3 strings. You go 7, 9, 7, 9, 7, 9. And then your top 2 strings, you're back to 7, 10, 7, 10. This is our old-fashioned pentatonic. Play it as fast as you can right now. As fast as you feel comfortable. How fast can you play that? Let me see my advanced students, my super shredder dudes, show me how fast you can play this comfortably, right? That's how fast I do it, right? Now, there's no way you're ever going to play this old-fashioned pentatonic that fast. The times they are changing, though, things evolve. And I'm not telling you to ditch that scale. We still use that. It still comes in handy for many things. But let me show you, we're going to start moving into some economy picking. This is part of Benson's technique. I'm even going to show you a Benson lick to work on that he does some sweep picking or economy picking. Now keep in mind, players have been doing this technique, right? Hear that sweep? It's like a paintbrush going across the paper. A little Benson lick right here. We're gonna, let's just show you this little Benson lick right here. It's from the Benson Blue album. The track is called Billy's Bounce. And it happens just before 40 seconds in the tune. If you want to go on YouTube, it's out of print, so you can't get hard to find the album. But you can go to 40 seconds and you'll hear this lick. Like this. Very jazzy, very Benson. And all you're doing is starting on the D string 8th fret, G string 7th fret, B string 6th fret. This sweep. This is the basic of what we're going to be talking about. Then 3rd finger at the 9th and slide up to 10. And then 8th fret on the 1st string. And then 11th fret on the B string like this. And he goes, right, where he does a double stop, 4th finger on the 10th fret, 1st finger on the 8th fret. Hammer your 2nd finger. See that interval he's getting? So it's cool. So there's your first Benson lick. Hammer that right there. Right? Very cool lick. And the reason I wanted to show you that lick was to get you used to that sweeping feeling where you're going down, 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 up with your pick. Right? Check it out. This sweeping tactic, I heard Django Reinhardt doing that in the 40s. I mean, that's probably the first guy I heard, gypsy jazz guitarist Django Reinhardt. But many players have done this. Lots of jazz players, and George Benson, of course, doing it all over the map. On this track, Billy's Bounce, at 40 seconds in, killer Benson blues lick. Benson's a great bluesy jazz blues player, killer. So, why do I mention this right now when we're talking about the pentatonic? Because, if you've seen the previous lessons, you know that I'm going to lead into the only way to play this pentatonic. I mean, you're never gonna alternate picking and get that kind of speed. Right? We've got to get into economy picking or sweep picking, whatever you want to call it. The essence, it means you've got to get a lot better with your upstrokes. Again, upstrokes are the weakest stroke for most players, including myself. And what I did a few years ago, I looked around at I got to take this somewhere new. And I looked at every player and I realized upstrokes, it's everybody's weakness, including mine. So I worked my ass off on it. And I think it's really helped, and I'm going to pass the savings on to you right now. So the first thing we do to get this sweet motion, and it's a perfect next step after this, getting this motion, right, is we're gonna, let's just do right here in C sharp, okay? We're gonna go down in a major 7 chord, 4 on the D string, 12th fret, 3, 11, G string, 2, 10th fret, B string, first finger. We're just gonna sweep with the pick loose in your finger. You can't grip it tight. As soon as you grip, your sweep picking's done. You gotta let that pick move like the rudder on a boat, okay? So what we wanna do, just brush it through, then we're gonna come back in flat 5s, 4, 3, 2, 1, 12, 11, 10, 9. And you see the motion is, I'm really getting the push, and then you gotta let that pick drag it to depress those strings in. So my pick angle, it's downward pick slanting on the way down, upward pick slanting on the way back. Someone asked me if I've seen this Troy Grady dude. I don't endorse his channel because he teaches too many different ways to pick, wrong ways to pick, showing you players who don't pick properly. I just want to show you the one right way. But he does talk about downward and upward pick slanting, and that's what it is. So you're going to want to practice that all the way across. First go this way, right, and get used to it. And make sure each note, when you're slow, when you're just working up, do that swing feel. Because you don't want this to sound like boxes falling down the stairs. You don't want it to sound like chords. You want it to sound like single notes, like bullets. Like a machine gun, right? Then go across. Ideas do create any cool little exercises. This is just what I created to get that motion going, where you're pushing and depressing, always depressing those strings. It's just like if you went with your thumb and then came back. And if you have to actually sit there and do this to get that feeling of the pushing and the yanking. Okay? So that's the next step. You got to work on that and you got to get that happening. I gave you a killer 2 sweep picking motifs last week in the Yngwie. I don't want to go through them too much, but go work on this lick from Bigfoot. That's doing down, down, up, down, down. I show that note for note in the lesson, right? And then this other one, this is the best one. You gotta do this one, and I'll show you in slow motion. Go back if you want more on the Yngwie, because I went up and down, and you want to start at the A note. G string, A note, 2nd fret. You're doing an upstroke. Upstroke to the G, D string, 5th fret. Downstroke to your E note, 2nd fret, D string. Up, up, down. If you gotta just do that, but then we're gonna take it, we're gonna number one to strengthen that upstroke, right? Right? I'm doubling up there. I'm going to work that. Do that on every string. Up, up, down, up, up, down. It's uncomfortable as hell. This is why I put it off for so many years. This is why guitar players will go to all lengths, hammer-ons, pull-offs, even though they don't sound even. It's not even to go. Or this is not even sounding. It's all cool, but it's not as cool as hearing every note like bullets, right? We want to hear every note evenly. We can choose if we want that kind of hammer-on, pull-off, Van Halen, Spanish Fly thing. We can get that, but let's take it farther than that. One of the only great players at picking every note is Steve Morse. Frank Gambale, two great players to listen to. Let's look at this pentatonic, because this is a really cool, revolutionary way to finger this that's going to let you play this 10 times faster than you'd be able to play it with a lot less effort. Again, I'm all about making things easy and doing things the common sense, relaxed, logical way. Thank you, Mr. Spock. So what we're going to do, let's come right here to B again. I like that. Minor 7 chord B. So here we go. Those first two notes stay the same, and it's actually the first 4 notes are the same. What changes is your picking. To get this happening, you're going to have to start with an upstroke, and this is the problem. A lot of cats always start with the downstroke. They can't ever start with an upstroke down. You got to be equally adept at starting down up or up down, or down down up or up up down. All these should be the same. You should see no difference. There should be no stress, holding breath, tensing up. Should be all relaxed. And to do that, you do what I did. You lock yourself in your bedroom for 3 years after a family member embezzles $500,000, leaves you living on change in a jar, and you say, hey, shit, man, I got to get so good people can't ignore me, that like can't not pay attention. So this is what I came up with. No, poverty will inspire you in a lot of different ways. So we start right here at the 7th fret, 6th string with an upstroke. That, just like we went, right? But we're doing it with a pick. Up, down. Up, down, down. Old fingering, new picking pattern. Up, up, down. Up, up, down, down, up. Up, down, down, up. Now, this note that you used to play here, you got to remap your pentatonic and play it at the 12th fret. That's the only way to get the speed up. You're going to have to go up, down, down, up, down. See how much faster it is than trying to go up, down, down, up, down. Up, down, down, up, down. There's your next note, and that's the first octave. You see, I got to turn it around. Up, down, down, up, down, down, up, up, down, up, up, down. You see, now try to do this that fast. It ain't going to happen for you. So we're there. Now these two notes are the same, but this note here, we're going to move to the 11th fret. Okay, so we're going to go up, down, down, up, down, 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 up, down. You see the new melodies are in there. Right here. Right there. Makes sense? Okay, now let's go up. Right here. Not here. Sorry. Not here. You play it there with your fourth finger. Here. Here. There. There you go. That's your ascending pentatonic. And you can even add this note here. See my right hand? All still this motion. All down here. Covering all 6 strings without acting all wild, stiff arming it, acting like a moron, man. These macho metal dudes don't have a clue. Trying to power their way through shit. You gotta touch this thing like it's a woman. If these guys touch their women like that, these women ain't getting off, I promise you that. And you know the players I'm talking about, Zach Wilde. His arm is so stiff. Benny Moore also, that's the player I mentioned earlier. Stiff arm like this. He's a great player, and that's my point. You can still play great in spite of bad technique. But isn't it a lot cooler to play with no effort, right? Least effort, maximum results. So we're here. Let's walk through it again, slow motion. This is your new pentatonic shape. In addition to this one, that one ain't going anywhere, people. It's been played out to death, but there's a million new melodies in this one. Like right here. Like this section right here is hard with your finger to get used to doing this. 4-3, 4-3. So I just isolated that. Right? There's a great melody. Never been played quite like that before, man. Now the descent, up, 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 down. Up, 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 down, up, 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 down. Right? We can add bends in there. Right? So that's your basic pattern. But once I did that, let's just take it in A. It's right here in A. I had to map out all the other shapes. So down here, you know, people aren't that great playing in open position. You got to map out your A minor right here. All the same picking, up, down, up, down, down, down. How's your A minor in open position like that? You got that sussed and memorized that shape? Or any shape to play an open minor? So I'll play it slow. This is something, again, Skype lessons. I can give you all the patterns. In E. Right? You gotta be. So I mapped it out here, my A minor, in every key. Then it's going to be here. Right, and then here's your, right? But then the next pattern here. And then there's another one in A minor. Here. And then here. And then you can do A right there. And I want to, obviously it should not be lost on you. It should go without saying that there's a big difference. I'm picking every single note. There's none of this hammering on the way back and pulling off. Right, that? And we'll get to the 3 note and the picking in a minute. Let's stay with this 2 note per string, right? So just work that pattern. If you can map the other ones out, if you want to get in Skype lessons, right? And connect those patterns, because once you connect the patterns, right? Never been played that lick ever until right here. So this is, you know, when people say rock and roll's dead, music's been played out to its, can't take it any farther. I think we're realizing today that's a bunch of hokey pokey. So there's some 2-note love right there. If you want to accentuate more than single lines, just make up some little riff like that. That's just a riff I'm made up, and I just kind of a double stop thing, and it just gets that hand and your strumming more coordinated. Some double stop licks like that. Very cool way to just work that, get your picking and get used to. Get a little more of that funky vibe in your playing. Let's move on to some 3-note per string activity. Let's see the difference, how this differs from last week. That's cool. That's a lot of the 80s guitar players. DeMartini, Lynch, Yngwie, Van Halen, Randy Rhoads, with the kind of picking every note on the way up, or even, you know, sometimes they hammer. Right, and that's all great, but let's pick every note. Down, up, down, 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 down, up, down. And again, you're never going to get it that fast, alternate picking. The bitch is coming back, and I'll help you with that in a minute, right, as we go. instead of pulling it off, but it sounds a lot more solid. It sounds a lot more like bullet. It's harder. You know, there's a saying, 2 days off, spaghetti fingers. You know, pianists have that joke. You got to practice the upstroke because it's something it's the most unnatural stroke somehow, because people don't know how to execute it. But if you work it, and I'll show you this pattern again, and if you don't know this major scale, so easy to memorize. You got all whole steps on the low two strings. Skip a fret between each note. That's all it is. Now let's get the picking together. And again, when I lean forward like a flamenco player, it's because you let the weight of the neck help you push the strings down instead of you doing all the work here. It's a great trick I learned from flamenco guitar players, right? So you're going down, up, down, or push, yank, push, yank, push. Right? Next two strings is right here. And then the next two right here. Okay? It's all in the Ingve. You can go back. We want to get to the picking. We're going to go down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. That note's there if you want to finish that way, but if we're going to return, we got to be with an upstroke ready to come back. So you're going to stop there. I'll show you some melodies you can do around that, but let's just get this motif going. So down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Down, up, 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 down. So let's take a little melody. I'm going to give you a melody. We're not going to play the whole scale, just make it sound like a scale. Let's give you a melody to work on, a melodic sequence, okay? So we're going to start here on our second finger, 5th fret, low E, with an upstroke down. All the way right there to your G note. Up, down, up, down, up. Get that hang of those up notes. Okay, so the pattern is going to be, then you're going to do it again here. Get that note, you can. Right? Okay. You can mute it if you want more of a that kind of vibe, right? See that? The hardest part is right here. You got to either bar. We talked about that, using the side of your finger in the last 2 or probably all 3 lessons. kind of do both depending on what melody I'm playing. Right? So just right there, work that. Killer leg. We'll do it slow motion again, done. So that's a killer. You can do that in any melodic, take a harmonic minor. Right there, right? And it's a totally different vibe than doing a lot of pull-offs because you're getting every note even. And you can still do the accents. Right? That's your 3 note. Up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down. It's up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down. Get me? Right? Now then, let's work just a cool Benson octave lick here. Just to get that motion going and give you a little Benson. He's great with the fast octaves. So we're going to go right here. Just slide up 3 notes. You give a little tune. It's like getting hot in here. It's getting hot in here. So the guitar's tripping just a hair with the tuning. That string's cool. He's cool. He's cool. There. Here Tallulah snoring away. All right. So you're going to go down, up, down, going. And the way I think about it is just doing a downstroke going. And then the downstroke, the last one, you're going to go octaves, so 5 and A. And then you're just going to slide up chromatically. So just think about this much first. And then think about the downstroke last. You go. Then move it down and do it here. Right here. And then, so. Great little Benson riff right there to work your octaves. And the licks, they just keep coming, people. All right. What else I got to show you? Let me show you something cool. This is a JY innovation right here. I call this J-wise chromatic scale. I've showed you in the previous lessons the quasi-chromatic, right? Where we're not playing every note, we're just going across. There's actually more notes in the chromatic scale. Let's just take it right here. We'll take it in C sharp. Right here. Now that is kind of the old-fashioned chromatic scale that's hard to pick, hard to play. Where you go 1, 2, 3, 4, shifting down, then shift back up, shift down, shift back up, shift down, shift back up. No shift on the B string and then shift. Again, sometimes you have to remap things in a new way to take things to the next level, right? Like I did with the pentatonic. I remapped the chromatic so it's much easier to play. And I'm going to pass the savings along to you, and it goes like this. We're going to start right here, just how we did with down, up, down, up. This is all alternate picking. Down, up, down, up. Then we're going to go right here. But 1, 2, 3, 4, instead of the old-fashioned way of chromatic going like this, we'll never get any real speed on the chromatic like that. But we will the way I'm going to teach you. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, drop a fret, 1, 2, 3, 4, drop a fret, 1, 2, 3, 4, stay on the same fret, drop a fret. You just did it. Much cleaner, cooler, especially for Django players who want to do those fast chromatics like Django does. Now to get back, it's the same way, but you got to go the opposite. You don't go and shift down, you go. You see you're going up now. Then down, so it's... Get that? That's... I've never seen anyone else play the chromatic like that. And it gives you that speed, right? Sometimes it takes a second to go from the brain working and talking to you and teaching to tuning out and playing. See? So we go shift down on the ascent and shift up right on the way down. For me, that's the coolest way to play a chromatic. So that's a huge tip right there. Practice those in every key right here. Sticking with the same vibes that I've told you all the way along. Now then, see how long we've been at this. Oh, 2 hours, people. 2 hours, people. Let me, if I start my phone up, I'm going to show you one more thing. How about some Paganini to take us out? I was talking about this lick last week. I'll show it to you because it's a great arpeggio lick to work your arpeggios. And if you have any questions, Toss them in the chat. I think I can go on my phone and look in the chat here. If you want to write me privately after, ask any questions. I actually got a few more things to show you. What am I talking about? We're going to go long shit. Got some arpeggios to show you. Let me just show you a couple cool different ways to look at arpeggios, more extended. And I'll tell you what chords you can use them over. This is a very critical one. This one plays into the lesson that I talked to you about earlier in the show, where I teach you how to make every chord from the two parent chords. Well, one of the parent chords is an augmented fifth. Not a lot of people use enough augmented, right? It's critical. Every pop chord, major or minor, is derived from the augmented fifth mother chord. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you should probably sign up for SKYPE lessons, because we don't have time to go into that today. But this is a very important little arpeggio to show you, and it goes something like this. We're going to start on the 6th fret, 6th string 8th fret, 5th string 7th fret, D strings 6th fret. It's just like you're making an F chord down here, but you're doing it here. Here's a little augmented interval. Then you're going to hit the 10 with your pinky. There's a great little sweep pattern right there. Just work that, right? Then pinky, you're going to come up to the 9th fret with your 2nd finger, G string, 3rd finger, 9th fret, B string, 1st finger, 8th fret, high E, then your 12 frets, so the whole thing goes. Got that? And it's down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down. Down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, up, up, down, up, up, down. Is that? Wait. Yeah, down. Here's a great one to work that right there. Just work 4, 2, 3, 1. Doing that augmented fifth right there. Because that's tricky as heck to get that third. Back. Okay. My SKYPE students are already tripping balls. I haven't showed them that, but they know the mommy chord and they're going, ah, there's that augmented fifth right there. You know what you can use this over? You can use it like a B flat 13, like this one right here. I'll give you a couple voices. Right here. Right here. First, second, And then that's a great phrase. You don't have to always play that high E. You got the option of adding that note in. That's B flat 13. And then right here, you can also play it right here. So that works. But it also works over the Hendrix chord. Hear it? It works over your E7 sharp 9. Does everyone know what that chord's called, the Hendrix chord? E7 sharp 9. Hear it? You could even play it here. Your out's in key. Every 4 frets you can play that arpeggio and it's in key. So if you're playing it here, you just count up 1, 2, 3, 4. And it works over that. That's a great one. One more time, slow motion. B flat 13 over E7 sharp 9. Check this cool one out. How about an E major extended? We know this one right here. Right? Let's look at another one. Or this one right here. The common ones, I'm going to show you a little bit different ones. If you don't know the common ones, Skype lessons, people. How about this E major extended I wrote out for you? 7, 12, 11, 9, 9, 9, 9, 13. Right there. See that? 7, 12, 11, 9, 9, 13. 12, 12, 14. You got to go up. To go back, you got to go down, up, 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 down. So just work that. Like find a bit of a lick. You don't got to do these all in one swoop. Just take that much. Up, down, up, down, 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 up, 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 down. Such cool, right? And just right there. Okay, that's a very cool extended, obviously over E major, right? How about an E sus4? We don't hear enough about these sus arpeggios, do we? How about this one? Once again, it's 7, 12, but instead of 11, we got us to 15 because we're sussing it. How pretty is that? You're going 7, 12, 12, 9, 9, 14. And then 12, 12, 15. That's a beauty. Sometimes when I come back, I like to go 4, 3, 1, right? Because it's a little faster. So there's a cool E sus4. It's giving you, the reason I'm giving you these, because they're great symmetrical patterns to work on your economy picking and your Benson approach, right? You're covering that much ground that fast. Dun, dun. Right? Okay, that's a cool one. I'll give you one more. How about a D minor extended? And then we'll work the Paganini. I wanted to give you some more exotic ones, and then the Paganini is going to outline some of the typical arpeggios, major, minor. So we're going to go, for the D minor, we're going to go 5, 10. There's your D note. It's a perfect fourth interval. You notice I'm bringing you're either going to lean your guitar forward so you don't got to bend your wrist, never bend that wrist. Look at that. This is an arpeggio that covers a lot of ground very quickly. 5, 10, 8 on the A string, that 9 again right there, 9, 9, sorry, 7, 7, I apologize, 7, 7, 10. Just add, because here you might know this, that minor right there, there's your D right there, kind of the old-fashioned way, but we're coming up to it, right? Down, up, up, up. Or you can do it with your finger if you want to shift there. Or like that. I shift. I do the fourth there, because it's easier to get me there. Up, down. How killer, right? Cool. Now then, to take us out, a little cherry on top of this lesson, let's get Paganini on it, shall we? All right, I'm going to outline these for you, and I'm going to show you a little way to practice your arpeggios. It's kind of bitchy. Okay, first let's take an E minor chord right here. And we're gonna, that's our first arpeggio. This is out of the 24 caprices, right? We're gonna go up. First I'll show you the arpeggio. It's basically your E minor chord. You're going 7, 10. And this is one of the things I'll send you written out if you want this tabbed out in the packet for a $5 or $10 donation. There's the links. I'll send you this and much more. The Benson thing that I taught you, that lick earlier, that, I got that transcribed for you and some other cool shit. Plus all the pictures and all the details about the Benson picking so you can see it and really analyze it later. We're going to go 7, 10, up, down, and then 9, 9 with 2 and 3. And let's just take this. This is how I practice arpeggios, and I know most people don't break it down this much, but Boy Scouts always will be prepared, right? So you're going to up, down, down. Let's just take that much. Up, up, down. So I practice that, then I add the next note, E right here. All these things really helping you work that push, yank. Then the next next note. Second finger right there. I'm going to do it with the first finger because of the progression. I'm going to do that. Then you're going to go. Every single one of them. Guys, too many guys just going, right, up and down. Figure out some new ways to use this arpeggio. Now, so that's the first bit. From the 24 Caprices list. So you're going to just go, ready? This was just a little exercise. We're going to just go up and down like this. Up, down, 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 up, down. Then we're going to come back. Up, down, 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 up, down, up, up. Work that. Then we're going to go. Then we're going to come to a major. Right? Go to an E major. So you see how I'm fingering that? Bar across these notes, first finger. Then we're going to go 3 here at the 11th to 12 to get an A minor, then an A major. So far it's right. Here's your next one. It's an F sharp, major, same shape, 3. Okay, so slow motion, we're going to go. Now if you want to tap up here like we were doing in the Van Halen, that's at the 18th, 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 19th, right? Cool? That's a bitchy one. Work that. That's why they said Paganini sold his soul to the devil, right? These are all great to get that Mute it. See that move? 2, 1, 1, 3, 4. See that move? Okay, people? Yowz, it's sweaty in here. Let me look and see if I can see the chat. I haven't tried this yet, but let's see what's up. Let's see what's up with you people. You liking this so far? There I am. I'm live. Better turn me down. There I am. Live chat. There we are. Cool. Someone, that was cool. Someone typed in the chat, players to watch. Was that John Montoya? Thanks for typing that. He typed the players to watch in there for you guys. Benson, Santana, Neil Sean, Shanker, Sykes, Young, Momstein, Friedman. My picking is average. I need this. Cool. UK guitar noodle. So much cool info. The donation link's not obvious. It's right there. 2 of them. The PayPal is jeffyoungmusic@gmx.com. If you want me to get a lavalier mic, people kick in. I'll get that lavalier mic for the next deal. jeffyoungmusic@gmx.com is the PayPal, or what you're seeing right there, paypal.me/JYmusic. It's the same thing. The Ko-Fi is for people who don't have PayPal, but it's a direct interface to PayPal. It's better than Patreon because Patreon holds the artist's money for a month. This is just an interface. You go to ko-fi.com/JYGTR, and every T you buy me is $5, I think. 5. You can buy 1, 2, 2. You know, I've had students who don't have PayPal. They'll just go there and click $80 worth of T's. Ko-Fi is great. Really cool. Hold on. It turned the wrong way. There we are. Let's see what else you guys got to say. Hello. I'll play the Godfather theme. I'll learn that. Slash already does that. It's been done. You're trying to get the bow and arrow concept? Again, think of it how I was showing you with the classical approach, and how your fingers, if you had no pick, how would your fingers have to operate to get that sound, right? You gotta push. There's no downstroke when you push. You can't, I mean, you could push it. You push your finger down, but the string goes in. Again, this is the advantage. If you saw that video I posted of the Assad brothers, my teachers, mentors, collaborators, that's, you know, I learned a lot about the physics of the guitar. But again, the easiest way to get the motion, your downstroke is the easy part because you're just bouncing on the high wire. You just bounce, just like that. Just like you're whacking the high wire with a drumstick. And so you can be very aggressive and funky. I mean, I'm over for exaggerating. It's rare that you're going to hit a string that hard, right? The point is that I can be reckless, not looking at the neck like this, and I'm not hitting other strings because, again, there's no strings in there. Your upstroke, you could just practice yanking back, just like how your finger would work if you were doing it like this. My nails are a little long, so I can't finger that good. Your nails should never be longer than your, if you see it this way, you shouldn't be able to see your nail, you know, or it's too long. But go backwards, just take your pick and yank back all upstrokes, up, and rest it on the B string. See? I get the feeling like I'm going like this, you know? My downstroke is like this, and it's almost, and you'll see in the Benson handout, I have an arrow drawn, and you see exactly what I'm doing. It's very easy to see in the diagram. So push, yank, push, yank. And I get it first with this open, jazzy sound. You can always mute it and get that more Demiola metal. You know, Demiola got that because he was shy as a kid and he didn't want his family to hear him practicing. So he would try to mute it. It's like pizzicato, like a violinist does when they pluck and mute. But just do all downstrokes, all push, and then do all yank. You're playing, it's like when I showed you at the beginning with the acoustic guitar, that scratchiness. All right, imagine you eliminate that, then you eliminate the slop. You've just totally elevated the whole pronunciation of your playing. It would be the best way to phrase it. Pronunciation of your playing, that's a good one. What else we got here? Frank Gambale has a good picking technique. What I've done, but if you look at Frank, and I'll put a picture in the handout, he holds the pick wrong. It's amazing. He holds it like, it's so tense, and he's got it in there like this. I mean, he's got it locked, but he's on the side of the finger. I think the Benson grip with Frank's economy picking is the ultimate. That's what I'm doing right here. What you're seeing me do in everything that I do, every video, every lesson, it's a combination of George Benson's picking technique combined with Frank Gambale's, combined with Yngwie and Eddie and Randy and Gary Moore, because those are my biggest influences. So those are the, you know, that's the, and Steve Morse as well. See that? Listen to the articulation, and it's so, I'm not laying into the pick, but you got bullets, man. Right? So you gotta just, again, that's why I gave you I build it up for you guys. That's why I give you this first. That's really gonna get you into that push yank, right? And then I gave you this to really just 2 notes on a string. And then you can start thinking about I do a chromatic on the way back. Which is cool because it keeps it from being too, just like you're running scales, it's more melodic. When you don't do the extra note and you add a chromatic at the end, routine. But again, work this one exercise to get those upstrokes. Down, up, down, up, down. Now that's one of the bitchiest licks to do on guitar, man. Bitchy, and I've got it incorporated in some solos already. Beautiful guitar, thank you. I love it. Like I said, you hear it, man. It's kind of big, like a jazz box is a big body. This is a big body. It's not heavy though, for how big you think. It's a light guitar. It's beautiful. I usually like scalp necks, but the way these Deans, the necks go like this. So it feels great. It's just got a great feeling. You hear how fat, it's just a fat tone. Isn't that very clean on the clean channel, right? You know, if I want to throw the gain on it, I mean, show you next time working the sweep picking. But you hear the vibe. And again, at a low volume, the amp, it's fizzy. It's a little fizzy at a low volume. As you bring it up, it starts to bloom. And it sounds more clean like this, but with a gain sound, with an overdriven sound. Any other questions, comments? Even though I don't play guitar, your lessons are very informative. Thank you. I try. I mean, I'm showing you guys the best of the best that I've learned from the best players, and I've taken from the best. I didn't invent most of this stuff, like that chromatic thing I did and some of the melodic motifs. You know, I've never seen anyone else do that. But it's just, your style is an amalgamation of the players that influence you. You're pulling from here, you're pulling from there, you're pulling from this guy, you're pulling from this guy. And again, because you're you and I'm me, if you use your creativity, you can take it into a beautiful new place. Go check out my new single, In the Flesh, at jeffyoungsongs.com. That's the first time you'll hear me using this new style of picking that I've done. I did a little bit on the Megadeth, but I was more doing kind of that 80s guitar player with a combination of picking and pull-offs and hammers on the descents, where now, like on In the Flesh, I'm picking every note, ascending and descending. Master Jeff, you are one chromatic king. Thank you. That chromatic scale I came up with, I know that's the fastest way to play that. What a great lesson. I've got some homework to do. John Montoya, cool. Glad you liked it. What about every pop chord, male, female? You mean major and minor trads? No, I mean you need to take the private Skype lesson and ask me to teach you the sacred geometry as it was taught to me by Pat Martino. Every chord comes from a mother and a parent chord. Every pop chord comes from the augmented fifth. And it's deeper than what I can show you here. I mean, we're already over 2 hours in. But this augmented fifth is the mother to every major and minor chord. And I can show you in one lesson how to understand the major and minor chords. And then out of the diminished 4-note cluster, how to understand how to make every jazz chord in one lesson. Every chord in the world in one lesson, or your money back. What other teachers offering that? Nowhere Boy says, would you say this picking style gets easier for faster solos with a... No. Pointy, small, those John Petrucci picks, I think they're wimpy, man. I'm not down with that. I used to use really thick, heavy. I'll show you what I used to use. Like in Megadeth, I was using Clayton 1.52 because Dwayne Dale, one of my teachers, I love Gambale, and Dwayne was one of my other favorite teachers at MI. He got me hooked on the Claytons. I got some picks. I'll show you some picks, show and tell right here. The picks I'm using now are very close. You know, when I auditioned for the Alcatraz gig, and I told this story last week, a good part of it. I had to walk away from it, but I'm using right now these picks right here. I like the sound. It's these are like 1.5s, so they're similar to the Clayton. Claytons have a more waxy feel. I like the feel of these picks. They got a really nice texture to them compared to some of the other Dunlop. Here's the picks I used to use. These are what all the gypsy jazz players in Europe, I used these for a decade, like on Monsoon, all the stuff with Baggio on the Brazilian album forward until last year I switched to thinner picks when just to play super fast all the time. I mean, this pick's really thick, and I don't usually, this is a Wiegand, very thick gypsy jazz pick. I got some other cool ones I can show you here. Here's a Michael Anthony chicken foot. I jam with him. You can see the video of me and Michael Anthony jamming on YouTube. How about Billy Gibbons' pick? Clear. All right. How about some Rick Nielsen? This was from the Heaven Tonight tour. What else I got here to show you? Ah, this is my most prized pick right here. I got 3 Yngwie. This is what I used at GIT before the Claytons. I was using these in like '84. And these are a little more slippery than these. These grip better, but they're very similar. This, I think, sounds better than the Yngwie's picks. Yngwie was using, the brand he was using was D'Angelico. This is my most prized pick. Jeff Buckley. Sorry if the volume's a little low, but Jeff Buckley's mother gave this to me. If you haven't listened to Jeff Buckley Grace, get it. Learn it and love it. It's one of the greatest albums of all time, Desert Island. You the man. Please tell more about your gear, guitars, playing history, now, then, kind of thing. That's thick. Yeah, the pick I was using was super thick. And to do like the fast stuff like Yngwie and the Alcatraz, and even when I was going to do the Rat gig and replace Warren DeMartini, you kind of need a thinner pick to get in the strings so fast. But that I do love those thick picks are great for acoustic guitar and gypsy jazz guitars and whatnot. I'll tell you about my rig right here real quick. Friedman 50 watt custom head. It's based kind of, he used to have a head called the Marsha, like Marsha, instead of Marshall, but Marshall was going to sue him, so he couldn't use Marsha. I know Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains' first Friedman was a Marsha, and his signature heads, the Friedman Jerry Cantrell, are based off the Marsha. This is Friedman did Eddie Van Halen's pedal boards, so he got to look inside Eddie Van Halen's amp, and this is the Brown Sound amp for the Crunch channel. It's kind of like a Dumble on the Clean channel or a Fender. So it's got, you heard the Clean was what you were hearing all day until the end. I kicked it over, but So the Friedman 212s, you know, vintage 30 and a 25 greenbacks. You know the Dean V, I love that guitar. It's got the dime Seymour Duncan in it. Someone asked me last week about the Yngwie pickups. I mean, the Yngwie's with Duncan now. He left DiMarzio. The pickups in mine are the YJM Fury Duncans. I think DiMarzio's have a bit of a spongier attack. A softer attack, doesn't have that crunch. Like that Van Halen when you hear You Really Got Me when he goes, gun, ga, da, da, ga. You're not going to get that out of a DiMarzio, right? My Gibson Flying V is stock pickups. The Dean is, everything is stock. These guitars are all stock. I don't change guitars. I use 8 through 46 on the other two. I haven't set up the Floyd to go lighter. I'll probably go maybe 9 through 46. Sorry, I go 8 through 46. It's basically a light top, heavy bottoms. Super Bullets, Fender Super Bullets, the Yngwie Malmsteen signature set of strings. I may go higher, like 9s for the trebles. You don't need heavy trebles, you need heavy basses and light trebles. All the best sounding players, Billy Gibbons, Leslie West, B.B. King. I posted an article of how many people use 8s and 7s, and Rick Beato's YouTube channel, 3 guys tried 4 different gauges of strings. The Ernie Ball starting with 8s, starting with 9s, 10s, and 11s on 3 different guitars. They recorded them all and listened back. The heaviest, chunkiest, most harmonic was the 8s and 9s. Chunkier. When you get to 10s like this, the Dean has 10s, it's a bit heavy-handed for me, but you know, the last time I used it, we did Spanish Fly, which is on an acoustic guitar, which is heavier action. Jazz guitars, jazz guys use 10s, 12s. They don't bend a lot, not a lot of vibrato compared to rock players. So this was okay, but I may go a little lighter on the gauge on the Dean, but I love it, so I'm torn. But I try to like take guitars as they are and make the best of them how I can. Only other thing I use, and I had 2 of the pedals out today because I don't want to waste batteries and whatever. So the only thing I was going through today was the Best Clean Boost, which is the Boss GE7 graphic equalizer that's modified and quieted down by XTS. Guys in Nashville, they're great with the pedals. Got turned on to this pedal by my buddy. He's from Canton, Ohio. He's the #1 session guy at Bluebird Studios in Nashville, Tom Bukovac. And he recommended this in one of his rig rundowns on Premier Guitar. I watch all those rig rundowns. And he said, Best Clean Boost, and he wasn't lying. But you got to get them quieted down. They're killer. So that's the Boss GE7, and I endorse Boss Roland stuff. And then I had the TC Electronic Flashback 4 on a Space Echo with a little slap. And at the end, when I turned on the Yngwie Overdrive, just so you could hear the crunch. And I usually also use a Texas Screamer Johnny Winter Overdrive for a more bluesy, bassy overdrive, cleaner. It's kind of like a Tube Screamer, but Johnny Winterized. That's from Big Joe Stomp Boxes. And then first in line is Eddie Van Halen Phase 90 with the script switch. So I go out of my guitar into the MXR Phase 90. You can put the phase before or after the distortion, and I've had 2 units, one before and one after. Obviously, if it's after, it's going to sound more distorted. So I want it cleaner, so I go first into the phase, then into the Texas Screamer, Big Joe Stomp Boxes, then into the Fender Yngwie Malmsteen Overdrive, then into the GE7 Equalizer, then into the Flashback. You always put your delays last, then into the Friedman. And that's the jam, man. And that's the jam. It's going to be almost a 3-hour lesson, people. I hope you share this and tell your friends. Like, as you can see, this isn't a jazz lesson for just jazz players. This is about getting your picking wired. And the Benson technique is going to give you the most masculine, powerful picking attack. Again, with all the tension released in your arms, so no more tension. And you can play and enjoy the playing. Play and enjoy the playing. Yeah, I see my buddy Sonny in the chat. Hey, buddy, red pill, full disclosure. Yep. Full disclosure in the lesson, man. Got to do it. Don't forget to check Jeff's Tuesday night radio show, Music Without Boundaries. Jeff's been working hard to wake the brain dead masses. I have. It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. Keep it up, and thank you, Jeff Young. Thank you, Tommy. I appreciate it so much. I appreciate you guys tuning in for this lesson. Let's cut out and pray everything was cool. No buffering issues. Was the sound cool, everybody, for the whole thing? I think we did good. There was no buzz. I'm not going to get a thumbs down from some douchebag because there was a little ground buzz on the last lesson. And if you're listening, thanks, asshole, for that. I mean, was that really necessary? As good as that lesson I gave you guys was for free? That's cool, people. All right. Again, there's the links if you want to donate, and I'll send you the George Benson picking technique folder. It's probably going to have 15, 20 little pages of intel in there, and pictures and diagrams and tips, and the George Benson lick that I showed you transcribed. That's the PayPal is paypal.me/JYmusic, and the Ko-Fi is ko-fi/JYGTR. $5 or $10, and it's on the way to you if you appreciate it. Want to give more? You know, our economy's crashing right now. No concerts till at least 2021. I have a whole tour and a brand new show I was ready to do. I got to do one show on the Jeff Young Have Guitars Will Travel tour before this whole shitstorm hit. So Skype lessons would help a brother out. Your donations much appreciated. My email for the Skype lessons, jeffyoungmusic@gmx.com. My main hub website, instrumentalguitar.net. In the Flesh, my new single, on sale at jeffyoungsongs.com. There's a lyric video. It's an instrumental, but I put a lyric video up just to be ornery. On my YouTube for In the Flesh, check out Monsoon. Everything on my YouTube, I've been playing this Benson technique, so it's like I could never go back to the other way. It's like breathing by now, and I forget what year I started doing it, but I mean, if you go all the way back to the beginning of my YouTube, I mean, that's 8-10 years. So I've been picking like this probably 15, 16 years. Can't recommend it highly enough. And thank you so much. Let's, on the way out, I didn't do a show and tell with George, so on the way out I will. How about, this is rare, man, X-rated LP. George Benson, Exotic Moods. This is, I'll play some of this on the, I'll play some Benson on the show Tuesday. Erotic Moods, Fed Up, Loose Joints, Overture Erotic, Smoking Chiba Chiba, Sweet Taste of Love. Got this on a shopping spree here in New York. That's a great rare one. This came out of my father's record collection. This is the George Benson collection. And this is more once he's gone more pop, mainstream jazz. Turn Your Love Around, Give Me the Night, that's killer. On Broadway, White Rabbit, he does a remake of Jefferson Airplane's White Rabbit, and This Masquerade is brilliant. Nature Boy, Last Train to Clarksville. Check out Benson's version of that's great. Here Comes the Sun. I ain't the only one loving the cover of some George Harrison. Breezin', love that. The Greatest Love of All. Great Benson album right there, the Benson collection. There's the man with the magic hand. Most relaxed picker. Great little outro. In the recent history of pop music, there have been few musicians who have crossed over successfully from instrumental to the instrumental world of pure jazz to superstardom as pop artists. In the late 1940s, Nat King Cole, an excellent non-singing trio pianist, became a widely successful pop star to whom George Benson pays tribute in Nature Boy on this album. There also was a cast of Louis Armstrong, one of the truly great jazz trumpeters who became better known as the novelty singer of Hello Dolly. And then there's George Benson himself, perhaps the most gifted jazz guitarist since the days of Charlie Christian. But George is really different. He's a really different case since he started on the streets of Pittsburgh, singing up a storm at the age of 9 and recording for RCA X, a label well before he was a teenager. As long as I've known him, he's been an intensely religious and very persuasive as a minister of the gospel. His intense religious feelings show up even more in his singing than in his playing. His church roots are evident in almost every track he's ever recorded, and it has just a great bio on George. Here's the man, handsome man. Turn your love around, don't you burn me down. And look at that guy. You see that pick hand? Right? The maestro, Bad Benson. And for Guitar Lessons Sessions Live, it's Bad Mr. Young bidding you a happy day. Please share this video. Share it in some guitar groups if you belong to guitar groups. Share it there, jazz groups. Let's get this around. Go back and check the past lessons. Yngwie Malmsteen, Eddie Van Halen, and Gary Moore explored. And I'll be back next week, I promise, with another great, surprising lesson for you folks. Over and out from the tree house in Babylon, New York City. See you again, guys. Subscribe to my YouTube, please, on the way out. And give this video a like. Like it, love it, share it, and blare it. And keep learning, people. Stay tuned. Stay strong. Cheers. One sip, I'll cheers you and we'll go. All right, people, any more questions, comments, private message me. Leave the comment here on the video. Watch it over and over. Slow it down. Extract every detail. If you want the Benson packet, lesson material, you know how to get it, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Bless.